Welcome to the Flux Dev Meeting. It's May 6th.
Hello, everybody. Uh, I guess not much today. I guess we gave several updates last week about the bug in customized controller that is now fixed for uh, objects with the if not present server-side apply annotation. This is backported to the Flux 2.8 branch. So maybe next week we have a patch release, Flux 2.8.7 to ship that. Also, we're doing good progress with DeepT's feature, also in server-side apply. Um, in the last iteration, we asked her to implement parsing of the managed field entries in the objects, so we can cover a few cases that uh, need special handling. And I'm gonna review that today. What else? We actually have several items on the roadmap that have either PRs opening open for and waiting for review, or uh, things that are blocked upstream. Like for example, Helm. We put the Helm chart API v3 in the roadmap, but it's not even released in Helm yet, so that's gonna just move. It does not exist. There's no point in implementing something that does not exist yet. Um, Also, yeah, I guess that's it in terms of bug fixes and roadmap. Uh, yeah. So maybe I can give an update on the RFC I'm working on, which is uh cloud vendor agnostic short-lived credentials. So uh, we are basically waiting for Spiffy and Spire ship a feature that allows Flux to issue credentials on behalf of Flux objects to talk to external systems. So basically our Spiffy and Spire integration, right? Like we don't have one. That's something that is a big part of this RFC, so the RFC is kind of blocked on this. But on the good side, I took over implementing this feature in upstream Spiffy Inspire, the broker API. So I am making good progress with the maintainers. I'm meeting with them weekly, sometimes like almost twice weekly. So the Spiffy maintainer is reviewing a few things that I'm adding against his PR in Spiffy for covering our use case, which is Kubernetes object reference. So Spiffy now will be able to attest not just workloads, but also Kubernetes object references, which is exactly what a Kubernetes controller needs, right? So for a Kubernetes controller be able to act on behalf of an object in an external system, it needs permission and the infrastructure to be able to get that credential on behalf of that object. And that's basically what the broker API is about. I also have a PR Inspire for implementing it. So PR in the standard repo, which is Spiffy, is close to landing, saying I have a PR Inspire that is already reviewed for by some maintainers, so also close. Once those features are released, I can unblock the RFC in Flux, and we're gonna keep we're gonna keep on top of security features in the GitOps space. So Yeah, I guess that's it from my side. Does anybody have anything like Vitor?
Now,
Want
going
to
back to
introduce
what you just
yourself?
said, Mateus,
Okay.
is there a draft already available that I could review, or when do you expect that a block to be lifted so that the RFC becomes available?
There's already an open pull request in the Flux 2 repo for the RFC, but it's outdated because it it's probably better wait for me to update the PR
Okay.
after Spiffy and Spire actually land. So no point in like doing an RFC based on something that does not exist. So yeah, maybe in a couple of weeks we we have we have we're closer to releasing the features in Spiffy and Spire, and then I can actually work
All right.
on
Okay,
the
fair enough.
RFC. Yeah. Cool. So, Victor, is this your first time here? Want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, independent is not first time actually been here, maybe several months ago, even more. Yeah, just want to see how Flux is. Uh, yeah, what's the current state of Flux?
Cool. Do you have any questions or discussion topics you want to
Yeah,
discuss?
actually, I've been involved in a community called. It's also part of this foundation, but it's called a CD, uh, Continuous Delivery Foundation. There's a CD event project there, and so we're creating things similar to that as called a DataOps event. So, actually had a discussion with the other. Sorry, my memory is terrible. Suddenly, I forgot what the other similar to Flux. What is the other project? uh,
We don't talk about that one.
okay, okay,
Argo,
good.
I think is what you mean, right? Argo?
Good. There's a okay. I suddenly forgot what it is. Yeah, so they're actually using CD event. Let me post the site for CD event. So just curious for Flux, is there do they play a role as well in that? Let me post the CD event, the website. Uh, this is a yeah. Let me put it in the chat. Yep. So that's the CD event. So it's really just uh, a standard about events. It's created for interoperability between different CI/CD uh, frameworks. So yeah, so I know it's nothing to do with Flux directly. However, it's kind of related, right? Because how do you that's how the other project also is kind of related.
We actually have an integration with CD events.
Oh, okay, cool.
I just sent a link in the chat as well if you want to take a look. We have an integration with receiver. So the Flux receiver API is a way for events happening outside the cluster to notify Flux to reconcile the Flux resources. You can do so we currently have integration for CD events, for example.
Oh, awesome, cool. Yeah, so we're in the process of creating a kind of extending CD event, but it's kind of parallel project. So it's called DataOps event. The idea is for similar things, but it's also yeah um, regarding data operations. Yeah, actually, let me share the. So one of the questions that came up is, in the age of agentic AI, what has is there does it impact CD event in any way? We hope the when we define the CD events and data ops events, the event that's defined is going to survive the switch to the agentic workflow. Like there's so many workflow, uh, like the automated code, etc. So how does this have any impact to the city events? Yeah, that's yeah, something where let me also share another link. This is another document we have. It's kind of a scratch pad. This document. Um, so it just does things like what is going to change if more and more um, developers start to use AI as an assistant. Even more, some of the development process is the human developer is just doing the review and commit, right? So most of the development is going to be done by AI. Does that change the CD event in any way? So yeah, so this is a kind of just a kind of scratch pad this document on that being reviewed within the CDEvent slash DataOps event community to think of does CDEvent need to change in any way to, or at least to prepare to support this new paradigm.
Well, we have an MCP server for
Yeah.
Flux.
Yeah. So anyway,
And
that's
also SKUs. We also just launched agent SKUs as well for Flux. We have this repo github.com/fluxcd/agent SKUs. We have 3 SKUs there at the moment. So this is how we are doing AI things in Flux at the moment. We have the
yeah.
MCP server and agent SKUs.
Yeah, so CD event is just for development life cycle. The DataOps event actually we think maybe because we're looking at it, we think it's a kind of have even a broader impact. Maybe just because we're looking at it. Give you example, like in the future, there's a saying that uh, AI is making the agentic AI is making the software as service industry, get them in trouble, right? Because it is agent. The logic behind that is the data flow in the past is, I mean, the software SaaS or any software is capturing the workflow that basically is the human need to follow,
AI
right?
still needs to be deployed, right?
True. Yeah, yeah. So the question is, with AI, let's say ServiceNow, for example, right? So, or any ERP software service, uh, you now have AI that doesn't follow all the screen clicks and will do kind of transaction without following those workflow. Uh, then I still need to have a well-defined terminologies as well as the events to kind of like have milestones of what has it achieved? Has it taken the order from the human? Has it done any transactions? How to define those events? Yeah, that's the reason behind the DataOps event. In addition to the traditional, data workflows similar to CD events.
Good question.
Yeah, I'll put I know this is not probably directly related. I'm just curious. Yeah, so if you have um, any interest in joining the discussion there, it's still a small group, but I think there will be the DC who used to work for Apple but is independent now. He's going to create actually one of the CD event control plane, my understanding. So probably in 1 month, we'll have a more solid next step for DataOps event. And this is the DataOps event website. And you can also find the CD event working group information there as well on the same website.
Cool. You can also post if you want. You can create a discussion in the Flux 2
Mm-hmm.
GitHub repo if you want, and
Yeah.
also start a thread in Slack in the CNCF Slack if you want about this.
Yeah, we had some scratch, created some initial DataOps event document. I created that with assistance from AI, but it's really kind of in theory. So I think in 1 month we'll be having more solid initial thought on what DataOps event could be that actually have a practical use on top of a CD event.
All right. I guess we can move on to another topic. Adrian, do you have anything? I remember seeing an update from you that you joined a SIG meeting and it was decided to have annotations, something like that, right? Want to talk
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah. I joined. Well, hello everyone. By the way, I joined a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, I mean, they agreed to add it due to the correlation benefits that they might bring. So yeah, looks good.
Wow.
I mean,
Wow. Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Structured
they
metadata in an event. Who
yeah
would have thought it could be useful?
yeah. Well, they are trying to let's say promote the events for some other purpose, and also they have another idea that perhaps could natively. I mean, they can natively support OpenTelemetry tracing under events for Kubernetes. That was another idea that come up with that discussion. The only problem is like it's a bit stuck these days, so at least I haven't heard anything. I posted a friendly reminder. So I don't know. I most
Yeah.
likely I will try to reach out to him by Slack or something.
Yeah,
Uh,
I would ping once a week.
mhm.
Like
Okay.
yeah, like ping once a week, and when it's out, it's out. We can use it in Flux.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I posted that comment 2 days ago. So yeah, I will try to, yeah, as you mentioned, like I will try to ping him on Slack. If not, I will try to do it next week, trying to get some feedback. And another thing is like I realized that we may need another change on the controller manager in the in Kubernetes 6 repo. Sorry, the controller runtime. My bad. I will paste the pull request here, just in case you would like to check that. It's still a bit work in progress because I want to make sure that yeah, the other changes merge. But I have some changes here that we might need in order to bring this into Flux. And once we have these two, finally, we might be able to. Well, I will be able to start working on making small. I'm presuming that it's going to be minor changes in my pull request, and yeah, we might have event V1, hopefully.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing your PR and controller runtime here.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Yeah,
I
it's just a work in
see.
progress, I have to say.
Yeah, but I see basically you're exposing the new recorder.
Exactly. Exactly, because I didn't want to have, let's say, supporting the same recorder for the other one, because they might say that it's breaking. It is, let's say, it's not backward compatible. So rather than include that in the new event provider, or sorry, event recorder, maybe I have to create an additional one to be able to have this. The good thing is, like in our case, we can use annotated even f, and if we set up the annotations as nil, it should be kind of the same as even f. It's barely the same. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. But let's see how it goes. Yeah, I just wanted to update a
So
little bit because
is this your PR and controller runtime? Does it depend on
uh,
Kubernetes merging your PR?
sorry, I
Uh,
didn't get that. Can you come
does
again?
this controller runtime PR you linked, does it depend
Yeah,
on Kubernetes merging and releasing your PR?
yeah, yeah. I believe so. I believe so.
Would it be exposing some symbol that you're using in this PR, like a function or an interface of method or something? Because I don't see any changes in
Yeah,
Go mod. So
yeah.
this
No, I
PR is
have.
not built at the moment?
No, I mean it has not been built because it's still on draft. I mean, I need to make changes in the command. It's because I have it in. I link all the packages on my local, so that's how I was testing
Mm,
and playing around.
okay. So
Uh,
if they trigger the CI of this PR right now, it would fail, right?
yeah, most likely. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah. It was just to have it as a placeholder, and when I work on this, I had some time, so I decided let's start working on this just to see how it goes. But yeah, most likely I need the new interface that comes with my PR on Kubernetes.
Cool.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. So I will keep you updated. We'll keep you posted. We'll with all the updates. Hopefully we might get news soon.
Nice.
Yeah, cool.
All right. Anybody else has any topic?
Register for Cozy Summit 2026 virtual. It's coming up soon. The date is
Nice.
May, I want to say 26th, but yes, it's May 26th. Link in the chat.
Nice. Ooh.
Thank you,
All right.
Kingdom.
There's a talk about reverse GitOps.
Reverse GitOps?
Reverse GitOps. There was a talk at KubeCon about reverse GitOps, if you wonder what that might be. It's the same presenter.
I definitely wonder.
By the way, those presentations from KubeCon, are they now all online? Especially those that deal with Flux, do you know? They haven't checked recently.
Can you repeat that question next week when Lee
The
joins?
presentations that
When
were given at KubeCon, are
I
they
understand the
now all
question.
online?
I'm just asking you to repeat it next week when Lee is here because he
Oh,
probably
okay,
knows the
sorry.
answer.
Yep, no, I will. Oh, Lee is to the guy that tracks those things. I should have known.
I was going to say I
Yeah.
should be involved in that. I'm a community maintainer, but I have absolutely no idea the answer to that question. So
You know,
Yeah. I
I'll
think Lee
ask again.
knows. Yeah.
Now, see,
Uh,
the reason I'm asking is one of the Coembi folks was presenting the prototype that they have built involving Flux and Captain. But I had a lot of feedback from folks that have been attending the session, and they did not really get the gist of what it was that sets apart the work that we've done there from what else is going on in the industry. And so I'm kind of curious, since I did not attend the call, the talk, to see what actually has been presented.
cool. Yeah, I think Lee will know the answer. I might have seen that somewhere. I don't know where. So yeah, I think Lee will know, and
Okay.
he'll probably be here next week. I'm curious now, Kingdom, because on May 26th, I'll not be able to attend because I'm gonna be traveling to at work. Yeah, I'm gonna be in London at work. So I'm curious. You tell me right now, what the hell is reverse GitOps? Is it syncing the cluster into Git?
If you want to think of it that way, yeah, it's basically the idea is that we're moving the source of truth into the cluster. Um, so if you create a certain object, and here's how I think of it in terms of Cozy Stack, because the way Cozy Stack handles its infrastructure is through Helm releases. That's they begin and end in the cluster. There is no GitOps source. And Cozy Stack is moving more towards a real proper GitOps model where there is a declarative source that applies those things. But the in the cluster itself, Kubernetes is declarative, and there's really no reason you couldn't. And I'm not doing it justice here because I haven't seen the talk and I haven't read in detail exactly what it's about. But what I do is I take the resources in the cluster, pipe them through kubectl neat, and commit them. This is not an automated process. Reverse GitOps is an automated process. So I think the idea is that if you had an operator that had a front end and you wanted for the objects in the cluster that the operator produces to be reflected out into GitOps so that there would be a backup of those things instead of them just living and dying in the cluster. I think that's what reverse GitOps is for.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I totally understand the concept, I guess.
It's
In
totally way more fleshed out than how I just described it, though. There's a manifesto. I just put the link in the chat, and
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
reverse GitHub. And who's behind this? Is it Cozy Stack?
it's I think his name is Simon Kugis. He's one of the presenters at Cozy Summit. He's not a Cozy Stack maintainer, no.
Uh, okay, they have a manifesto for this now. The
Yeah,
API comes first.
I
Git
think there's a
remembers.
company too. There's a company called Config Butler that
Config Butler,
yeah.
is that a competitor of Config Hub?
Oh,
Yeah,
maybe.
could be, couldn't it?
Could be. I think it's
I
only
mean,
private
yeah,
now.
this is interesting. Like,
Yeah.
in one of the KubeCons, I saw someone making this request. Like humble DevOps engineer drops by the booth and says, "Hey, it would be nice if Flux could have a feature where it syncs the cluster back to Git." And Sanskar and myself were there at the time. And was like, "Dude." But I understand.
I
Like,
think it's not the paradigm, but it's a paradigm that could fit into a dev model, like in your dev environment where you probably kubectl apply things once in a while. It would be great if those
yeah,
things
like
just
you're
didn't go into a
iterating,
hole.
right? Like, let's
Yeah.
say you're iterating with AI. AI is running some kubectl commands and popping objects in the cluster, and then you say, "Okay, looks good. I want it committed back to Git now." Well, the AI could
He can do that. Yeah, but it's the
add to
waste of
Git
tokens
it's
if you have
directly.
automation that handles it, right?
By the way,
Yeah.
speaking of this, what actually happens if the cluster is controlled by Flux and you're applying some changes to your current configuration using kubectl? Shouldn't Flux detect those disparities and
No, because
bring
that means monitoring every resource of every type in the cluster. That's not doable.
It
At
actually
least, I
depends on
mean,
what you mean by detect, because at the dry run, it will detect it at the interval.
yeah,
But
I mean, at what's in the desired state, right? Like
oh, you mean
Flux
re
sees what's
resources that
in,
we haven't actually created in the GitOps source? Those Flux is not monitoring.
yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what Augie is talking about, right?
Okay.
Like,
So
yeah,
what
it
you're
creates
saying
some,
is that there's a delta, a state delta in the cluster that Flux is not tracking and monitoring.
And there will necessarily be one because certain resources are created dynamically through controller events. Like if you create a PVC,
yeah,
Kubernetes responds and creates a PV. Um,
yeah. Yeah, imagine also all the built-in objects that are there. Like we're not reconciling the Kubernetes service in the default namespace, for example, right? We're
Yeah, and that's
So it's kind
interesting because I
of a
was
tricky
having
problem. Like you,
a debate.
what should you
Uh,
actually watch for, right?
yeah,
Like
no, you just write it. My view of the world that got slanted after I had a discussion at KubeCon about this subject, because the individual I was talking to kind of was maintaining that Flux essentially builds a copy of all of the objects and the data that's managed by Kubernetes, which I found hard to believe, but they were adamant about it. Okay.
I mean, like an automated. I'm wondering now how this automation is done. Like, where is this implemented? Is this a cozy stack feature? What is this?
No, it's presented to the Cozy Stack community. I think he's trying to get the traction on the concept. So
So this person who wrote the reverse GitOps manifesto implemented something and is
yes,
bringing.
there's this GitOps reverser
Ah,
here, and
okay.
there's
Yeah, so this tool
a
must
diff
have
that
some
will
sort of selectors that query objects
yeah,
that are not managed by your GitOps tool.
correct. My understanding it's not just slurping all of the objects in the cluster into a GitOps repo. That would be madness. It is targeted. It's meant to pick up things that you want it to pick up. So there's a cluster watch rule or a watch rule and a Git target in the architecture and Git provider. But so you wouldn't have all objects, but maybe in that case you would like to actually have a record of the PVs that were created. So we'll create a cluster watch rule for PVs, and now we'll have a Git repo where every PV that we've created will be stored with the actual identifier. So when we need to untangle this stuff in disaster recovery, we're not flying blind about which PVs belong to which PVCs, that were all declarative. Um, and I haven't tried this, so I can't say how well it works, but I've definitely tried to do a similar thing with less automation and found it to be a useful concept. So,
Yeah, I was looking at this and I'm not quite sure how this might work within releases. To me, it could be a bit.
you have to understand exactly how Cozy Stack works. There's a in the cluster a
Mhm,
Helm repository that's launched as part of the installer. So when you
mhm,
install Cozy Stack, you take a bare cluster. It might not have CNI on it even yet. It's probably a Talos cluster that's running the Cozy Stack image and the Cozy Stack
mhm.
config that says don't set up anything. And
Okay.
you apply the installer. It downloads. It has a few containers in the pod. One of them is a Helm legacy repository. And from that Helm
Mhm,
legacy repository, the installer, in order, creates a Helm release for the CNI, for Flux, for all of the things that need to be installed in order.
mhm,
It's really only hand-holding at the beginning because the whole CNI and Flux thing is a little bit complicated to get um, everything in a Helm release. The goal is
mhm,
that if we install something on the cluster, there is no, besides that first single YAML install.yaml file, there's nothing in the cluster that's not a Helm release that's
mhm,
provided by Cozy Stack. So if we integrate some tool from upstream and they don't provide a Helm chart, we'll make one. If
mhm,
the Helm chart upstream doesn't provide everything we need, there's a pattern where we'll fork and create a thin umbrella chart that's just a single chart underneath so that we can
mhm.
wrap it and keep the Helm release values conforming to our standards. But There was actually a Cozy Stack blog about how this works, released not too long ago. Let me see if I can find it. It was
Okay, thanks.
specifically about how does Flux and CNI happen in Cozy Stack. Chicken and the egg problem. Here we go. Using Flux all-in-one is how it's solved
Mhm.
now. But at the earlier time, it did not use Flux all-in-one. We had a complicated dance where it would set up CNI first and adopt it using a Helm release, and
Mhm.
um, this is how it's solved now. So they actually route the Helm repository source through the Kubernetes API, which is not something I've ever uh, heard of being done before.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'd be curious to try this workflow. I work on some resources and they just pop back in Git.
I think there's meant to be some sort of synchronous loop that I haven't fully understood yet, and I hope that he talks about it in the presentation because
Synchronous in what sense?
it should be not a one-way transaction, right? You should be able to say, and I can make a change in the Git repository, and it would also be reflected back. But I can't imagine how that would
Yeah,
work.
I can. Like you okay, you have it in Git, but now that it's in Git, your GitOps tool adopted it. And that um and and then if you delete the resource from Git, your GitOps tool will delete it.
That's how I would imagine it works too, but I am afraid it doesn't quite work that way. I think it's more like these are the resources that the butler takes care of, and um, there's some kind of complicated dance involving suspend and resume.
I would imagine that the controller, the pillar controller, understands when an object was adopted by the GitOps tool. That's how I would do it. Like, okay, this object is already managed by GitOps, so I don't touch it.
Well, it looks like it's a single person project plus um, no other contributors other than GitHub Actions and Dependabot. So um, I'm sure he'd be interested in your feedback.
Yeah, I would love to have a talk with this person. That is not just a random person dropping by the booth and saying,
Could be the same guy actually. I don't know. Maybe you recognize him. I'll let him know though. I'm on the program committee and I am in communication with him. I'll let him
I
know if
mean,
you're
I'm
interested to talk with him.
nice, nice. I mean, bring him to the Slack channel.
Yeah.
Bring him here in this. Like, I would be interested in giving him 30 minutes in this meeting to talk about this. It's very interesting. I mean, this idea, if it's strong enough in an individual to for them to go to do what this person did, like the project, the manifesto, the website, everything, they have a strong conviction of it. I am interested. But if someone is
The
asking
random
that,
drop
oh,
by in the booth
yeah,
is not as interesting.
like
I
solve my
understand.
problem here. I did this. I want a future influx. No, but I mean, from this perspective, from someone who truly believes this can be useful and did all of this, I want to hear.
Cool.
All right. Does anybody have any other topics? Otherwise, we can save a few minutes today.
Okay, I
No?
think we'll wrap up the meeting then.
All right. Cool. Thanks for everybody who joined today.
Have a good
See you
day.
next week.
Yep.
Yeah.
See you next
Thank
week.
you.
Enjoy the
Take
week.
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
See you.